What episode is this? Hello everyone, welcome to the 39th episode of TOSH Talks. And today, as you can see from the image on screen, we are talking about how we are going to get the Normies on side, although we may move over more to, well, how they already are on side, just how we can deliver for them, I guess. So, it's worth mentioning that this was actually Sero's suggestion, and then he just never replied to my to say, come on, lad. So, hopefully you'll see the replay. In the meantime, we have a pretty standard guest list today, so obviously we have the usual Tharium.
Hello there.
We've got Mercian.
Hello everyone.
And we've got Enigmatic, whose microphone is working now.
Yes, excellent. I don't sound like I am from the dark side of the moon.
Well, that's good. I'm also getting 0 viewers on Streamlabs, but it looks like I actually have like 8. So
what I'm seeing.
Yeah, well, I do have viewers and a couple of likes. If you're in the chat, give the video a like, and don't forget you can also super chat if you so feel it's worth it. For now, though, I think we should just get to the topic at hand. It might even be a short one because I don't know how much there is actually to talk about here. I suppose it depends on the topic. So, I mean, I suppose the reason this is important is because your average voter is a normie, hence they are called normies. They are a normal person, which we are not, and I don't think anyone here would try and claim they are normal. Don't try and claim you're normal.
Well, no, maybe not. Yeah, the
don't
sub 10 million population is a bit out there.
Well, we're not even talking about them necessarily, but I suppose that's another, like, even, you know, each village hates each other, typically throughout Britain. But either way, you have a big, completely politically disengaged normie population who will effectively, they're a bit like cushions. They'll have the impression of the last person who sat on them, and that is typically whatever they see on TV, on the news, in newspapers, in books for some people. People apparently still read. Are there any normies left? Yes, Tory Rebuttal, there are still normies. Like, there's always normies. I don't know why there wouldn't be. So,
Do you know, the biggest problem with normies is the way you frame them there, which is occurring to me. It's not that they don't understand what's going on. They're just going to completely abstain from voting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, they'll only abstain from voting if there's, how do you put it? If there's no one cool to vote for, I guess is the way to put it.
I think they're still going to abstain from voting. I mean, normies by nature aren't very political.
No, but they will. If they see things going badly, then they will come out to vote in their droves. So think about Blair's, was it second or third term? Like, it's when we had the last, like, sub 60% turnout for a vote. But that's because Blair screwed up after, or just before 2008 or something like that. But then after that, they voted in their droves for Tories because, Tories didn't cause a recession.
There's a big part of that, I think, is just the desire to say "fuck you"
also,
to whoever is in charge. And that sort of drives a lot of it.
There's a lot of that going on currently with this government.
Yeah.
And so this is where the problem comes in. Are they going to default back to Tories? Probably not with Kemi Badenoch. Oh, it was the Iraq War, that was it. I mean, almost definitely not with the Kemi Badenoch thing. Did you see Kemi Badenoch's speech she was making today?
I heard
saw it
picture.
Interviewed on GB News.
I was expecting all of you to say she made a speech today. But
what?
Was...
Well, she's still talking like the Tories are the only game in town.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't even bother watching it because I just saw the optics of, you know, the background looked like a mattress, just white sheet over it with a red. It looked like one of my recent thumbnails, just with a red, like a red text box with the words Labour's jobs tax, was it, something like that? And I just thought, this isn't the same messaging that Nige has been going around recently with your council is broken, reform will fix it.
Well, I didn't see the speech, but I did see a GB News interview today. And my favourite part of the interview is when she, matter of fact, says, "We are the opposition." And I just laughed.
I mean, the thing is, it's technically true.
They are.
But yeah, she is a woeful leader. Jemrick is doing what he can, to be fair to him. I think I have got to a point where people may call me an NPC for this, but I don't see why anyone would want to keep the Tory label at this point, really, unless they were effectively going to Boris Johnson or David Cameron. And go on.
They've lost Rubber, which is really.
They have lost Rubber, which is not great. They've lost.
Really?
I think the only Tory boy still a Tory member is Tory Rebuttal in chat, and he might not even be one.
Well on brand.
I feel like he's a Tory just because he's got the moniker Tory Rebuttal. I think that's the only reason at this stage.
He has admitted in the past that the only reason the only reason he's so into the Tories is because it makes him feel like a rebel in Scotland, which is understandable. But at the same time, it's like, but would you not be a massive rebel if you moved to Reform now?
I respect his commitment to the bit.
I mean, I respect it as well, but
he will have to be. He's got to be the least popular party in Scotland. That's the only way he can do it.
Yeah, the thing that I can take with Tory Rebuttal is that at least he's self-aware of it. But Rubber's blocked me again anyway. So that's fun. And Vanishing Points, he's not a Tory anymore. He stopped being a Tory after they got rid of Liz Truss, to be fair. And I'm not even sure if Gavin East to Worshipper was ever a Tory, but well, yeah. So
what's Rubber's position now? Is he Reform now?
It was Homeland.
Crippling depression.
It was Homeland for a bit, and then
really?
Whoa.
Well, was he? I thought
he
was simping for Pete North.
He was simping for Pete North, and then he's assumed that Pete North. For people who don't know who Pete North is, he's. I keep calling him the yapper of nonsense. He's a guy who writes political blogs, but they are like 20,000 paragraphs long every time, and it makes it very hard to read. And he's kind of a bog standard anti-Farage guy. It's like, Farage and Reform don't have real policies, blah blah blah, all the standard Ben Habib stuff. So he decided to join Homeland, who aren't even fielding candidates, and I'm supposed to believe he's some super serious political commentator. So, well, anyway, Rubber was a follower of his, and he joined Homeland, and he just assumed, Homeland can't be that bad if Pete North joined, and I kept having to show him like blatant racism from.
Harry, you want to know what Normie thinks? You want to know what Normie thinks? You just watch Rubber, and Rubber joined the Homeland part of that. So there you go.
Yeah.
Are you trying to tell me that the Normies are actually moving towards Homeland?
Yes.
Well, I think most Normies have never heard of the Homelander Party, but I suspect that some of them might. You'd think.
I don't think many of them are going to join the party run by a Scottish Mr. Creosote. That's the way I'd put it.
That new video of that Kenny put out, that I could never join the party after that. How he just looks, this tiny head and this huge belly,
small head and the overhang of the of the belly. It's not great. I will say, as a pushback to the Normie joining Homeland, he never joined Homeland, and it took him about 2 weeks to backtrack on everything he said. So I threw him the screenshots, and that's why he blocked me.
Rubber can't. He's got some block about the screenshots you send him. Like when you say you said this, he goes, "No, I didn't." You send him a screenshot of him saying that. He didn't. Nope.
I don't even think he denied it. I think he just called me pathetic or something. But the funniest thing he's ever done with one of my screenshots is I sent him a conversation I was having with a Homeland guy about Disraeli, and I was asking him, is Disraeli British, and he said no because he's a Jew. So I sent that to Rubber, and Rubber instantly just said, "Oh, you've probably doctored it." I was like, "Oh, okay. Here's the link to the tweet." Yeah, Rubber gets in a bad mood sometimes, we'll say. But anyway, we're here to talk about Normies, not Rubber. I don't think we can call Rubber a Normie.
I think he is. I think he's a good weather vane of like the boomer Normie. The well-off boomer Normie. That's
too.
I honestly believe, I'm with Tharium. The Normie is more radical than you think. I say it. Come on.
Well, the Normie wants what they've been voting for the past, few decades.
Because everyone has voted anti-immigration.
Yeah.
For a long, no one's ever voted for immigration. Not once.
No.
This has been thrust upon us.
Yeah, and now, I mean, anecdotally from me and friends who've been going around with reform, that they're all excited with reform, mainly either because of Farage or the immigration stance, or just as an alternative to the other two.
I also hold that a lot of normies think Nigel is a lot more racist than he actually is, because they've heard so many times that he's a Nazi racist bad man.
well, they either do and hate him, or they're like, oh, he's being called a racist the same way I am. I'm not racist. I just don't like him, type thing.
I'll tell you something else I've noticed about the normie and WhatsApp groups across the nation. They are starting to notice things, but then their liberal programming kicks in. Yeah,
well, I mean, I think I said it in my video today. Even my mum was saying like maybe feminism was a mistake, which
they genuinely are starting to notice things.
Yeah,
I sense it.
A lot of normies are realizing that they know they can't. They definitely know they can't blame the Tories anymore, because today has been pretty devastating for a lot of families, with basically every price going up and only the people on minimum wage getting a bit of a rise, and that's it.
I mean, I'll tell you this: in my part of the world that votes predominantly Lib Dem, people I speak to want people that don't integrate the border.
Yeah, that's pretty standard across all even. Probably even the Greens. I was about to say the Greens probably think like that. They don't.
No, definitely
they
not.
don't because
party now.
Yeah, they're doing handshakes with the independent Gaza vote, aren't they? So I can't really say that.
Well, and within their own party, that one guy, Allahu Akbar stuff like, oh.
Yeah, and then he was at Hare Hill. To be fair, he was at Hare Hills trying to stop riots. So I'm not. That's not me saying he's integrated. That's me saying at the very least, he understands civility. But
well, he doesn't want to shit in his own backyard.
Yeah, that too. It's all deportation of at the very least. Well, reform's policy of get rid of illegals and get rid of criminals. That is a pretty standard accepted position by quite a lot of people. You might get the odd person feeling bad because, what about the people who genuinely do need asylum crossing the channel? But
nobody cares.
Yeah, I think we're pretty much at the point where that's actually quite a minority opinion, and even the normies think that. So I guess one answer to the question. Oh, how do you get the normies on side? You just kind of wait, because it turns out we're just ahead of the curve on all this.
It's literally they've basically got the online rights 2014 opinion at the minute.
Yeah, they definitely do. Which I do think I still largely have.
I do think it's a bit of a mistake to sort of dismiss things as just the online rights, when you've got to realise everyone is online these days. Like,
10% of the country. That's it. It's not much.
No. Like you saw the guy going down the Thames, travelling down the Thames. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those videos.
Yeah, that was
he was noticed. So many people were recognising him because they'd seen him on TikTok and stuff.
Yeah, but how? Yeah, but
and this is across all different age groups, all different social classes.
Yeah, but hang on. There's a difference between people noticing this guy doing a bit of a quirky challenge and people who know, UKIP rape man and the latest he is. That's not.
It's a pretty niche thing, but people know.
It's not that niche when he's tagging himself in he's got I think he said, people were just searching up River Thames, and I was the first thing that came up because he'd hit the algorithm, because it's a really unique thing and people's attention would have been on it, so he would have shot up the algorithm. I think that's a bit different to
Well, the point is everyone is online though.
Sure, but in the political spheres, the political spheres are not really on Instagram.
But like Enigmatic said, like the WhatsApp groups too. Like everyone seems to be
word of mouth getting through. Yeah. Oh, but people have noticed. Right, this is a point where we're gonna really get to. People have always really been on our side, because generally people have voted for what have Tories promised for 20 years? Oh, less immigration. They just don't deliver it. What else do they promise? Oh, sensible economic policy. Why did everyone vote Labour this time around? Pro-growth will smash the gangs as well. Like, the rhetoric's our side, really, isn't it? And it has been for some time. It just never gets delivered. So now it's just convincing the normie that I suppose the only way forward is, well, an alternative to the two-party system. That at the moment happens to be reform. And then we'll see if they move to Homeland, but I highly doubt they will.
I mean, people we've always been racist, though. Just neighbouring villages hate each other. And remember, not long ago,
we have always had we have always been very in-group preferential. Yeah.
Just remember, Harry, and for no reason at all, that Hitler got into power.
Oh, yeah. I mean, God, I mean that reminds me as well. Let's say an old job I used to have. I won't specify which one, but there were people there that always made the joke. Oh, there's probably some kid in prison at the moment who's going to be a future mustache man writing his my struggle book at the moment. Like, people have noticed how bad it is for some time. It's just a lot of people find their safe spaces and stick to them, if you know what I mean. Like, whether that's in village or online. You
should have told them, well, I am writing a book, but I'm not in prison yet.
I wasn't writing my book at that point, to be fair. But, yeah, I need to be beat into writing that.
Like my point, like the Windrush stuff, there's 300 people on that? And the government was just hated that. The government back then was just trying to stop it. They hated it.
Yeah.
You had Enoch Powell's constituents, all of them, I mean, by today's standards, or saying some very politically incorrect stuff. And every renter, not long ago, they had all the no blacks, no dogs, no Irish signs.
How common was that? That's more of an American thing, isn't it?
No, it was here.
I do not believe we ever had signs that said
no Irish
dogs. I can believe no Irish. I can believe that. I mean, no.
If you're renting a place, you don't. If you're renting a place, you don't want dogs.
Oh, renting. Oh, I guess that makes.
It was pretty big in Glasgow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know it more as an American thing. Well, there you go. How many black people even would you have at that point? Because that became illegal in the 1960s, I would have imagined. I mean,
like 1,000 in the whole country.
Well, if that, yeah. Hate seeing all the Jenrick simping on the online right, acting as if he could change the Tories as leader and BPM. Well, I mean, that's where my mind keeps going to. It's like, how many Tories have we had where we've heard all the rhetoric? Even Cameron was saying this sort of stuff, and we just get disappointed. At least it will be a surprise disappointment with Farage. At least for me.
I have said that Jenrick can get me on side if he privately deports Kemi Badenoch.
Well,
just bags her, sticks her on a plane, says he's in charge now.
Yeah. It's but yeah. I mean, I suppose another point we should move on to as well with the normies is the one that Jack wants to bring up, because he wants to be very elite theory on all this. Again, yeah, the elites do have a big influence on the Overton window. There was a reason they couldn't talk about Enoch Powell's speech for 40 years, but I don't know. Whenever I bring up Enoch Powell these days, he's generally seen as, well, he may have been right. It's just what people say.
No, he was wrong. He dramatically underestimated.
Well, yeah, he underestimated things. Whatever, it doesn't matter. It's like, the point is that policy he was putting forward probably good. It's funny as well. I every time I talk to NPCs, I have to tell them. When they bring up the racist language stuff, I always have to say that was actually him directly quoting a constituent or multiple constituents. That wasn't actually his language. And the rest like, oh, I didn't know that. It's like, I suppose another thing that gets Normies Onside is, frankly, Max Tempers, the way he posts a policy. The Motability stuff. Yeah, everyone know what I'm on about?
Yep.
Yeah.
Mercian as well. Have you heard about this Motability stuff?
I've heard. Is this about like people with autism having things like areas and things like that?
Yes. Well, yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, exactly, and that's exactly how my barber brought it up to me.
I have yet to get my Audi. I are working on it as we speak tonight.
I've been diagnosed. Where's my Audi?
You have to get paid.
You've been shortchanged, mate.
Yeah.
You could try applying.
The problem is that you basically need to make it out like you are completely incapable of living as a normal person, like living independently. Like you have to pretend you can't use a microwave.
Yeah, metagame the whole thing. Be as retarded as you can.
Yeah, and say you want to basically say you want to commit suicide all the time as well. That's how a lot of people get it. And they just need a couple of doctor's diagnosis, and then maybe get yourself prescribed on some antidepressants, and away you go. And you get a free car out of it. And it's quite funny. I saw snippets of Atlas Shrugged posted to Twitter, and it just sounds exactly like, Britain, because in Atlas Shrugged it was all tax the rich and give the poor everything, and it made it so no one could be great men, captains of industry and what have you, and instead everyone was just trying to effectively break their legs for free money. It's what's happening here. And you get Audis and stuff. But anyway, on this point, that's become a massive normie talking point via getting the stats together and then just showing people the stats. And you don't even really need commentary with it, but obviously Max Tempers always puts his dry tart humour with it. And you get big enough online there, you can end up putting all these stats out and then effectively doing the work for journalists for them. And then people in the Telegraph start posting it, and then it's just everywhere. And then 2 weeks later, MPs are being asked about it, and Motability have to start hiring a PR department, because obviously they've never had to do PR before because no one knew it was an issue. But now they have to defend giving mildly autistic people Audis and things like that. So, how do you get the normies on side? Effectively, be a journalist, do journalist job for them, and then get in contact with them and give them all the information. And if you're lucky, you'll get paid for it, but I don't really care about that.
I'll tell you one area that normies are definitely noticing.
Yeah.
If they're going for a job and they're staring at some of the questions, that is getting their noggin jogging, I tell you.
What do you mean? What do you mean, some of the questions?
Sexuality questions.
Oh, yeah.
Demographic questions, and let's just say it's harder to get a job if you're a white man than other demographics.
Oh yeah, I mean
I'm gonna go send you to prison for that. Actually,
well, I told my I think I told my family once that I started basically pretending to be a black woman in with those questions, because
you still got your black woman blue sky?
Yeah.
I
never got rid of that. I posted on that for a day.
I think the most realistic one is to say you're a trans Muslim.
Yeah,
that is very realistic.
That is very effective.
Yeah, but it's the one that really got a lot of normies red-pilled was the BBC, just putting out blatant, you can't apply for this job if you're white type jobs. They've not had one of those for about 6 years now, and it's because there was normie outrage. This is how you get the normies on side. You show them facts and don't get emotional about it effectively. I think that's where quite a bit of the online right go wrong. I think I've called them in the Discord before, emotionally driven idiots, I think is the nice way to put it. And I don't think it convinces many people. I think that's what put a lot of people off the left, actually. Go on.
Here's a Top Gear tip. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, let Mercian go.
I think the best way is when they start noticing, don't point out something else that they should have noticed that isn't related to what they're noticing as well.
Oh yeah. I mean, well, it's like when I was talking to my mum about adolescence the other day. I mentioned I did a video on it, and she asked her how was it received. I was like, well, this side of the internet get a bit emotional. So started talking about like broken families and things like that, and how there was a dad in it, and my mum lives in an area that actually had a stabbing a few years ago, and it was just boys, and they were all from fairly decent homes, to be honest with you. So that's why. So my mum was like, "Oh, it might generally be like that, but showing things like this would be helpful." And then I said, "Oh, and a lot of people are complaining because a lot of black kids stab as well and are disproportionate, whatever." And it put her off that conversation. Basically, it's like, yeah, you've noticed adolescence. You noticed that women were useless in the school, for example, and that then we started talking about how education's feminized, and she said she felt bad for boys from the show, basically. And I'm like, oh, this is good. We can use this to the right's advantage because boys have been left behind. But going and then on about, oh, but black boys stab more and things like that. It's like, no, you're gonna lose the argument that way. you gotta not get emotional
when they
stuff.
When they start to notice, stay on point and don't throw in something else into the mixture. And don't go off on a different subject. You need to focus on that.
Well, this is as I say, this is where Max Tempers does well, because he hyper focuses on about 3 issues and just only posts, mainly anyway, post stuff about that. And then if there's some other major news, he knows not to get hysterical about it. Like he doesn't openly say which party he supports. I've never seen him say anything, say on the Rupert Lowe reform drama, anything like that. And I think it's because he knows, the way you work this posting to policy is, don't get emotional about the whole thing, don't do anything stupid, just get your stats together, do a journalist job for them, and then get your contacts there and work with them that way. And it's how it gets it mainstream. Go on.
I'll tell you another vector for the normie that's not controversial: net zero.
Yeah, net zero's gone very unpopular.
It will. I mean, we talked about this last time with the EV thing, but it's gonna destroy us if we carry on down this road much longer, if not already. Yeah. I mean, like what I didn't mention and I'll go on it briefly, but what we're in danger of losing the entire car infrastructure, internal combustion car infrastructure, more than people realise.
I'm sure that's true. I'm sure that's true. I was going to say, have you seen the comments from that video? Because there's a lot of angry people in the comments, effectively saying your points are out of date because apparently there's really fast charging now. There's cars that can go 300 miles or something. Oh,
is there fuck?
There's always an electric car advocate. Once people buy an electric car, that something happens to their mind. And they're like, well, everyone will love an electric car. So like, no, you do. You're a rich prick. You don't need to go anywhere.
Not to bring it back to electric cars, but there is something I forgot to mention last week myself, which is apparently the stats are that when people do move over to electric cars, they quite rarely go back to internal combustion engine. But I don't know if that statistic's going to necessarily bear out over the next decade or so. Especially because a lot of car manufacturers are moving away from it, like you say. So,
well, let's just say a lot of stats and a lot of information about EVs is more astroturf than people realise.
I wouldn't be shocked, but I suppose that's another thing. The normies seem to have a bit of a nose for astroturfed, commentators and topics now. I think. Well, I'm basing it off my mum's comments again, but and other normies. There's some normies who, on the adolescence topic, they've noticed that they'll see Stephen Graham on these things, and it's clear he just doesn't want boys stabbed. But then the other guys everywhere going on about social media being terrible and wanting it banned and what have you, and people have kind of sniffed out, oh, he's just being an activist trying to extend his 15 minutes of fame. Well, that's how it feels anyway. I mean, he's a writer, and so they're a bit iffy on that, which is why I think when it comes to adolescence, actually try and use all talking points that are in the show to our advantage. But people would rather complain about other things. Anyway, Cero for £2 is Evie the new vegan? It probably is because I think people are going off vegan. I know, for example, Alex O'Connor. What was he? cosmic skeptic, whatever. He was vegan for a bit at uni, and then he just couldn't be bothered anymore. And there's not many healthy vegans. You can have a healthy lifestyle as a vegan, and vegan gains, for example. He's got muscles and what have you, but most of them don't keep up with it like that.
I mean, is he on steroids too, though?
I don't know. Maybe.
I assume everyone is.
For everyone that's like that, there's 250 vegan.
Yeah. yeah. True. Another thing I think we need to bear in mind is that normies won't stray too far outside the Overton window of the mainstream. I mean, net zero, for example. Like, I think Nigel's ex-spokesman, Gawain Towler, who's been all over the place on interviews and things like that recently, he said that actually Nigel Farage and parties he's been part of have been sceptical of net zero from the very start, but they knew don't talk about that subject because it just makes you look too crazy at the moment. Because everyone was going on about renewables in like 2010 and beyond, and now we're having the consequences of it. That's when it's more safe to do a Richard Tyson, start just denying climate change altogether to beat net zero. Because it's quite amazing. He does actually just full on deny climate change, but I don't see him getting as berated as other people who've denied climate change do in the past. So it's quite an interesting thing there too. But
I think the climate change also helps that the most visible proponents of it that the government has astroturfed, like the Just Stop Oil people, are such annoying bastards.
Well, that is true. I mean, Just Stop Oil have actually stopped now, but then it's quite funny. You know that news that a Quaker house got raided by the police? It's because
I didn't see that.
No.
Oh, it was in the news. It was not quite front page news, but it was quite big news the other day. Yeah, the Met Police, like 20 of them, raided a Quaker meeting house, and the original leftist thing was, it's a place of worship, can't break that down. Anyway, it turned out it was outside of worship hours, and it was because they wanted to arrest some people who were part of a Just Stop Oil offshoot. I think it's called Youth Demand. They're effectively Just Stop Oil, demanding all the same things of them, but they focus as well on Gaza. So I think it was like 6 women, something like that, and they all got arrested because those Just Stop Oilers who went to jail for organising disruption. Effectively, that's what they were raided for, and when people find that out, they're like, "Oh, that's not too bad, actually." So yeah, Just Stop Oil activists have really annoyed people. I mean, this is what I mean. How do you get the normies on side? Just logically see where, like, the problems with the left basically, and where they end up. Have a position that solves that problem, and then the normies come to your side naturally, and obviously don't get emotional about it, and show them you're working, even if they don't understand it. It doesn't matter. Like, as long as you've done some working, it's fine. And then it's only really leftists who will start like trying to question all your methodology, even if your methodology is perfectly fine. It's like go on.
Well, I've always had good results with people. I've mentioned this before. How you just say, "Oh yeah, we all think that. We all hate these people. We all want this. We all want that." And just like you said, just calmly say that, and people sort of go, "Oh, is it okay for me to say that?" I feel like a lot of normies, they just want to think they've got a safe space, and then it all comes flowing out.
I have to say it with my mum quite a lot as well. She'll be like, "Oh, it's their culture. I'm not being racist." I'm just like, I'm the last person you have to say that to. Like, just say whatever you think. Like, I know you're not racist. Just say it.
I've spoken to older people, and they're like, coloured people. Oh, am I not supposed to say that these days? They say something like that, and it's like, you say whatever you want.
Just say the N word. Come on.
Yeah.
Another £2 from Sero. I'm so far beyond caring about climate change. Well, that's most people at this point. We were supposed to have 100 dead grannies or something this winter, and it didn't happen. So thank God for climate change. But as I say, that again is just the normies are already on side. They just see so much of the they're blue-pilled by mainstream media and what have you. And
yeah,
honestly, as much as people say, "Oh, GB News is compromised" and what have you, it's still like a space that they can watch and say, "Oh, you can actually say alternative things to BBC or Sky or whatever." It's still obviously a net positive. So
yeah, the mainstream media propaganda, I think, is really bad for a lot of like elderly people and people who are just sort of more isolated. Because you imagine you're some old granny, you just want them all gone. You want all the foreigners gone. But you see on the BBC every day how you want them telling you basically that you are an evil, awful person and you should be ashamed and kill yourself. So, that like she's little old granny isn't gonna want to really say anything how she really feels.
no, well, I mean, my grandmas didn't really care from what I can remember. But well, I mean, will that affect their voting habits? I don't really think so. I think old people are pretty stuck in voting for the two main parties, and then the odd weirdos will vote alternatively. Some are moving over to Reform, but I think we keep making the joke that basically all Tories will be dead of old age 5-10 years time. So it'd be interesting to see what most of those 65 and older voters think of Kemi Badenoch. Especially, well, quite, yeah. Well, they might not even know who she is. So
I mean, that's ultimately the worst Tory decision, because I genuinely think Jenrick was doing really well for the Tories, but they live in the Westminster bubble and the Liberal bubble. Well, you can say about the whole Uni Party that they don't know what's going on outside of their little Westminster Europe Liberal bubble. They have no idea.
Did you see the video when she was announced leader? The guy is going, he's just wanking himself off about, we've got our first black female leader. Yeah. We are so amazing.
Woke overdrive. Yeah, I do remember. We got our first black female leader, and she's currently leading the party into the abyss and not recovering. Oh, is DEI a problem? Who would have thought?
So this is the kind of things that normies do notice things that they just have too much programming to stop them.
Well,
the example I gave about like on the jobs market. Well, the same people couldn't wait to sort of say, well, of course, I don't care about the skin colour as long as the best person's in charge, sort of thing. It's sort of like, you nearly get it, but you had to put that qualifier in. Like,
well, if they get onto that subject, just if you mention, oh, that has to happen because of the Equality Act, that could be amended to get rid of that crap about, quotas and all that. You don't have to say you'll get rid of it. You can say, "Oh, we'll amend it," and then get rid of it when you're in power. Because I'd get rid of it. So it's a case of you red pill them a bit by bit. You just, as you say, keep it on topic. Don't move them too far from where their Overton window already is, because you move it bit by bit by moving the centre of that, more to our side, and that. It depends on the individual and where they're up to, obviously. The conversations I have with people who still want a wealth tax, say, would be completely different from people who think, the NHS should be in public hands.
Are you guys getting loads of Gary Stevenson videos as well?
They are everywhere. They are everywhere. Yeah. Yeah, he's been totally astroturfed. He's been pushed everywhere because he's effectively the new Corbynista. He's just... Navarra media have got boring. Everyone knows who Ash Sarkar is and everyone hates her, so it's Gary Stevenson now. And we're basically at a point where being a brown woman, being a brown Muslim woman, isn't as cool as being a working class white guy now. That's what's happened. It'd be Owen Jones if everyone didn't know Owen Jones was a big crying mess. It's just a new face of it. He'll be gone in like a year because I think he doesn't have great mental health from what I understand. So I think the pressure will get to him.
He's been on my algorithm for a few years now.
Yeah, I've known him for a while, but he's everywhere now. Yeah.
Do you think that we're pushing him towards people on the online writing inverted commas beforehand?
What do you mean?
Well, as a way to deprogram us, maybe, sort of thing. I mean,
Oh God, no. No, I think they're trying. I think what's trying to happen is whether it's a push by Labour itself or just left wing NGOs in general. He's being pushed for is to give the public an appetite to get the wealth tax out there. That's all he's there for, and in return he gets book sales. Typically, that's how donations are given to him. Oh, he sold million. There's a reason his book has been #1 in the Times for 7 weeks now, something like that. Do you know a single person who's bought that book?
no.
Well, this one NGO really needed 100,000 copies.
Yeah, exactly. It's because they're all in a warehouse for patriotic millionaires. Well, they've probably put it in a bonfire actually. So, yeah. it's pretty obvious. He's the best example of astroturfing I've seen for a while. It's pretty blatant because what does he actually say that's interesting? All he says over and over is the rich are stealing your money. It's a zero-sum game, and basically every economist says no. Growth means it's not zero-sum.
The only thing he's got is he tries to play from authority, sort of saying, I was a stockbroker and I basically made my money by betting this was what would happen. It's like, oh, you made your money from the economy going really bad, and this is your game plan. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Well, he claims he was the top trader at what? Where was he saying?
Best trader in the world. Worked at Citibank, and he was there for 6 years. Yeah.
Sure.
I don't know. It's really weird. He used to talk about his experiences at Citibank, but he just never talks about them now. It's all about this wealth tax, and that's as well how I can tell he's being astroturfed more than he's actually trying to talk from the heart. What I think's happened to him effectively is he worked at Citibank. It's a really high stress environment. He made millions and then just couldn't hack. His head just couldn't hack it. So he gave up on it. Traded. Now starts trading by himself and still does pretty well at that. You know, he's probably a decent trader, but he's nowhere near the best in the world. And then from there, he's basically had to find another relatively reliable revenue stream, and that's why I think because every time he goes on an interview or a panel, he probably gets paid, and from there he also wrote the book to get the donations as well. So that's what's happened to him. I think he just had a mental breakdown, and I think he'll have another one because I think he'll get fed up with people pushing back on him. But well, only time will tell, really. But I don't see Gary Stevenson being as popular as, say, I don't know, Owen Jones or Ash Sarkar was, and even they weren't that popular. So I don't think there's much to worry about there. I think the left is just dead. I think we're at a point where people obviously want services to work, and I don't think people are. I don't know how convinced people are that privatising water is what killed water, because in Wales and Scotland, water prices have gone up, and they're nationalised. So at least
I don't know how we have an abundance of the stuff.
Yeah.
And yet there's still a drought.
It's true. I think it's just because there was a price cap, so we were probably paying less than what we should have been for ages, and now it's gone up so much. It's they've lifted the cap so much that they can put it more to market rate what it should be. Which if it's a market rate, why not just have a private company? I mean, having said that, I'd be fine with Thames Water temporarily going public until they basically get everything fixed and then selling it off again. But that's not how Labour are going to operate.
One thing that's been really bad on the propaganda side has been the Ramadan propaganda this year.
Oh God!
I think people are fed up of that. I mean, I don't know
exactly. Yeah, because like I keep saying, everyone hates the Muslims, and you can tell the fact that they are really ramping up the propaganda, how they are realizing how thin the ice they are on that point is.
Well, I don't think the phrasing should be "everyone hates the Muslims." I think they don't. Yeah,
they really do.
No, I was talking to my mum about a mosque being built in her area, and she basically just said, "Oh, well, it's inevitable, isn't it?" She didn't really say if she approved or not of it. So I can't.
She doesn't. Of course she doesn't. She hates it.
That's Blairite programming right
Yeah.
there.
Probably.
She
yeah,
hates it.
but-
She's just been programmed into thinking she's not allowed to say that she hates it.
Well, I'll try and push her a bit further
And
next time then.
And that's why they're going so hard on the propaganda. You know, governments don't waste time on propaganda on positions that they're strong on. So all this Ramadan crap is because they know people are getting pretty sick of them.
They're definitely overcompensating with the Ramadan stuff, though. I mean, they'll probably say something about Easter this year. It's not typical that they actually say.
They haven't
say something about. Well, it's not.
You see that one school went and banned Easter celebrations to not offend the Muslim students.
I did see that. Yeah.
They had no Muslims in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. To be honest, that might come more down to the fact the school's out of money, but I don't know. No, but I was going to say it's not actually that typical to. This is actually weird to me, to be fair, but it's not actually typical to say Lent started or, Great Ash Wednesday. I don't ever remember a time when any government would throw out some PR for that, or the royals would throw out PR for that. For Easter, typically they do, but this is what makes it weird because Ramadan's the Muslim version of Lent, really, and they'll say, "Oh, it started now." So I get why people think that's weird, but they're overcompensating, as you say.
You'd think the Church of England would have at least recognised Lent, but they didn't.
No, they did something else when it started, didn't they? But I
net
can't
zero
remember.
shit.
Did they do net zero stuff?
Yeah.
Well, I've there's a whole Yes Minister episode about how, might be Prime Minister actually, about how the Church of England's just run by atheists anyway. So that's been true since the 80s.
Gay atheists.
Yeah. So.
Would you be terribly offended if I brought in the elite theory of how our elite really should have put the woke away?
I mean, again, my issue with elite theory isn't like its core concepts. Its core concepts are fine. It's when people think that elite theory is the only thing that makes sense and then try and fit everything in the world into it, when that doesn't make any sense. But go on anyway.
But I don't think it's controversial to say that what Labour should have done is exactly what AA predicted that they should have done. My issue with AA on this one, they're playing with fire with this stuff.
What with what stuff?
With the way the direction the Labour government have gone.
Like doubling down on woke.
Yeah.
Oh right. Yeah. Yeah. No. Well, are they playing with fire? I mean, I think they've got.
Well, Southport didn't come out of nowhere.
No.
I mean,
no, sure,
I don't know containment. So I mean, mine Tharium's point is the Normie already knows.
Yeah, all that anger
we are in a powder keg.
Yeah, all that anger from the
Southport
stuff that's still there. That's still bubbling.
Well,
that's not been contained.
Well, I'd like to point out the thing with the Southport incident. They didn't actually attack the mosque. They attacked the police and they were throwing bricks at the police, and some cars in the mosque car park got hit as collateral, and their wall collapsed because people were taking bricks off it. It's not, they weren't attacking the mosque; they were attacking police, and that ire is institutions, the British institutions, rather than Muslims. So
yeah, like they see after these children had just been murdered, they see the police instantly rush to the mosques, and that sends the message, really, doesn't it? What the state finds important.
Well, and then interestingly, even when they did, attack the police, they the mosque was there within throwing distance with bricks. They didn't throw stuff at it. It's people are fed up with. Well, it's why the two-tier care stuff sticks. They're fed up with the entirety of the British apparatus, the British government apparatus, and the police, and it's like this. This Times radio producer who's just been arrested with his wife for complaining about a school. It's like they sent they showed a load of WhatsApps. We don't know what the emails said, but we know they started sending emails because they had to, because they were banned from going to the school. And basically no one's giving the benefit of the doubt to the school, from what I can tell. Everyone's just like 6 policemen to arrest 2 people who aren't particularly violent people. Mm-hmm. Yeah, arrest them in front of their kids as well. ransacking their home for electronic devices. Like, the police can do that with people who complain at school, but they can't deal with my stolen phone.
Yeah.
People have noticed that. Go on.
We've had the sentencing thing recently, the actual like 2-tier sentencing stuff being talked about, but we've always had that unofficially. We've had that unofficially for years now.
Well, it's quite funny, like, because if that's ever brought up in question time, obviously you'll have a standard woke person saying, "Oh, well, black people get longer sentences," and people aren't cheering that like they used to. In fact, you're getting people in the audiences openly saying our positions in some cases at this point. So, yeah.
When I see, I don't know these names. They have a few leftists on GB News for balance, and the one they're actively lying. I'm like, the left have been lying for years, but they used to twist things. Now they're just lying, and obfuscating. They're not even trying to put a spin on anything anymore. I've noticed that. I don't know if the normies have.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying the left was telling the truth all the time, but the left were able to spin like a while ago. Now they're actively denying and lying.
Well, the left had an advantage for 14 years because they were out of power. Because the left just meant Labour originally, but now Labour are in power, and they lost Owen Jones. They've barely got Navarra, and they're having trouble even saying that they're doing austerity or they're just Tories. Like, they're having trouble saying that. I'm actually not really sure why that is. I think people are just fed up of hearing that excuse. Like, oh, it's just the Tories, it's just right wingness. It's like, I've whenever I've been in conversations about politics with my family, my sister's very much. She is surrounded by leftists, but does not care about politics. And she'll basically come to the rest of the family to get a balanced view on things, let's say. I mean, obviously it's more right wing, but, we'll always say, oh, well, Tories. I said to my dad, say, 6 years ago, oh, Tories are basically left wing, and he laughed at me. My dad says it before I even have to open my mouth now. It's, as I say, how do you get the normies on side? Well, it's just time. Show you're working.
It is just time. Because you've just reminded me. I wanted to bring up Russell Brand as an example.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying he's based.
Yeah.
However,
but he's based.
When he stopped listening to liberal elite and started to listen to the people a bit more, when he got out of that bubble, he changed his mind pretty rapidly.
Yeah.
Well, he was attacked by the whole system, wasn't he? Yeah.
I think Tucker Carlson probably helped move him along on that. And because Tucker Carlson just talked to him normally, I think.
Did he? I don't even remember him talking to Tucker Carlson.
Yeah, I remember they had
a while ago.
A talk a while ago. Yeah, back when he was still a raging lunatic. Well, more so.
I mean, he was practically a communist at one stage.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, well, he called
communist. Yeah,
he called Nigel Farage a pound shop Enoch Powell or something like that at one point. I remember that. Yeah, well, now he's overcompensating a bit now, but I think he needs a bit of a grift so that he can keep his lifestyle as it is, because he's never presenting anything again, is he?
That's the thing. But I'm telling you, the reason, if there's any normie defaulting to left-wing politics, it's because they're too involved around left-wing people. So they go back into their bubble, and then they have all their liberal presuppositions reinforced. When they start to come out of that bubble, they're not going back to get reprogrammed.
Well, it always. I was just going to say, it always impressed my sister that, as I say, she's by no means, she's very normie, but she doesn't really engage in politics, but then is surrounded by left-wing people, and whenever we talk about politics, I'll basically predict all their arguments in advance, and my sister's always quite impressed with that. And that's another thing, that the left are just so predictable at this point. Even normies are getting it, and they're fed up of hearing it. There's no solutions. It's just horrendous.
Obviously, it's kids, but you've been plenty of times when parents have said their kids over thinking they're trans. And so the parents instead just calmly go, oh no, we're moving to a different school. We're taking you out of school and going away. And then in no time, the kids revert back to being normal, taken away from the constant propaganda shoved into their mouths by the school.
It is constant propaganda that have left the normies the way they are. They'll slowly start switching off from all the mainstream stuff and everything. Hopefully. I mean, like, here's the thing. What I've never really considered is, if you're a normie, and you want to watch TV, what do you watch as a normie? Because I can't watch anything mainstream anymore.
Love Island.
Very little of it.
Yeah, Love Island's still fairly unzogged. They watch
SAS Rogue Heroes.
Oh, SAS Rogue Heroes. How posed is that? I think it not very. I've heard it's good.
I don't know. I've heard it's decent, yeah.
Adolescence.
Oh.
I've
spoken to people at work and they like it.
Yeah, it's good. It's genuinely good television. I can't really. There's probably a few more things. TV hasn't been. Oh, terrestrial television's been pretty bad. Streaming sites have had some good shows. Shogun was good.
Yeah.
Andor was good. Can't really think of anything.
People just talk about movies, and even then, it's just old movies rather than television or the stuff that comes out now.
Yeah.
My sister goes to the cinema every Saturday, and I never ask her, what movies are you actually watching? What would you want to watch in the movies right now?
My mum asked, do you ever go to the cinema? And I replied, what would I watch?
Yeah.
I mean, that's it.
It costs a fortune as well.
Well, it costs loads as well. It's not, it's just not. Well, as well, me and Tosh sometimes we'll put stuff on from YouTube on as well. Like YouTube just has more interesting and engaging content than a lot of streaming sites these days.
I just imagined you putting your own streams on for Tash to watch with you.
I do that sometimes.
I'll ask you guys: are you rewatching a lot of stuff, or are you genuinely seeking out stuff?
I'm rewatching King of the Hill.
I'll tell you straight. I rewatch Top Gear every week.
Yeah, I rewatched Top Gear a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
and I might do it again.
Awesome.
It is quite funny watching old Top Gear. It's quite funny. Do you know what's really funny? If you watch Yes Minister or Yes Prime Minister, literally all of the same problems that we have now are brought up in that. Civil service being all right. And bear in mind, this was even before Tony Blair's whole reforms with the quangocracy. Like, this is when ministers actually had powers, and yet they'd still just not be able to fight the civil service properly. Well, they'd have a better time of it, I suppose, but it is a very funny show as well. But yeah, no, I'd watch old stuff more than I see on YouTube.
I mean, the only thing I've told you, I'm really looking forward to Devil May Cry anime, and you were right about that. There was a problem, but it's not woke that's a problem with it. It's got millennial cringe and far too much of it.
It's millennial cringe, not just woke.
No, it's just millennial cringe. The humour is millennial cringe, you can tell.
Yeah. I mean, but then again, like the Devil May Cry series is kind of that.
Oh, yeah, basically millennials watching it. So if it's going to be cringy, it might as well be millennial cringe.
I meant the game series. They've always had that sort of.
Oh, they've always had.
No. The millennial cringe I'm talking about is where Dante sort of. The only thing that's self-deprecating humour.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to play you the clip for you to understand, but
I know what you mean.
You'd say, "Oh, that's millennial cringe," and you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, like Marvel humour.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. That just happened. Yeah. I think this is another thing that's affected normies, though. Like, a lot of them. A lot of normies I know do not like Star Wars anymore. But it's so weird that I still see loads of people shilling for like Disney Star Wars and Disneyland and things like this.
Who?
People who are People who have people who have to say they like Disney stuff to get access to Disney things.
Okay, right. Online people, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll see how that goes after 1 year without USAID.
That will be interesting, actually. God, imagine if USAID was funding Disney to the tune of billions. That'd be nuts.
Yeah, but how much are we paying for all this?
Well, nothing. It's
When are we
USAID.
going to have a Doge moment?
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, that's another funny thing. Everyone in the UK hates Musk. However, everyone likes the idea of Doge. So that's always quite a funny one. I suppose that's another thing. Don't ever let people know if your arguments have come from Trump or, right-wing boogeyman, if you will. It was quite funny. I'll just throw this anecdote out. I did once put on Twitter, reform should lean into Thatcherism, and I got a few likes and a few people saying, oh no, hate Thatcher. So then the next day I said, reform should lean into Powellism, and nothing but universal likes, and then finally one person said, Powellism and Thatcherism are the same thing though. I was like, yes they are, but it where the message comes from matters.
I'm wondering if the Daily Wire was getting USAID's money, because they're struggling at the moment. They've just had a whole lot of layoffs and stuff. I think so. Even like them, their sort of position, their moderate Judeo-Christian crap, I think seems to be people getting a bit bored of that.
Daily Wire's always seemed bigger than it has any right to be, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I don't mind Ben Shapiro. Matt Walsh is okay. I still like Peterson.
Have any of you watched any of their films or original content?
No.
I've not.
I've heard. I do want to watch basically everything Jordan Peterson's done for them, because that does look good. But no, I've not seen I Am a Racist or anything like that. But I've heard I'm a Racist, all right.
Wait, that's the thing.
It is, for me, their content just seems like their Judeo-Christian adolescence, basically.
Yeah.
It's all just meant to try and push their sort of messages, and it's just that's boring entertainment.
Yeah, they definitely need to mix it up a bit. I think that's going to be the problem with everyone. We're in a realignment of kind of everything here, and what the next zeitgeist is going to be is kind of there for the taking. Everything's just crap.
Yeah, also the Daily Wire. It bothers me that they've got their grubby little mitts on King Arthur and are doing a King Arthur series. I just know that's going to be awful. I'm sure there's going to be one scene where King Arthur's at the round table and he says, "First, I'd like to thank our greatest allies, Israel."
You said that.
I can just imagine it. King Arthur's going, "I'd like to thank Israel for helping me defeat the forces of Mordred."
To the rescue, my noble knight, Sir Benjamin of Netanyahu.
I don't think it's going to be that bad. I think... I was about to say, don't get me wrong, I know there's a lot of Israeli influence in the US, but I think it's actually a bit overblown. I think a lot of them just want them to beat Gaza because
it is.
It reminded them of 9/11. So.
Yeah, but at the Daily Wire, they are very much Israel first.
Oh, well, they would be. Not being funny, but there are quite a few Jews running it, and a lot of them like Israel, so they would be. But I don't really have a problem with that. I think the hate for Ben Shapiro from the right's overblown, but I think he's a net positive. Even now, I'd still say that. I mean, think about it. He did the. It's another way I think the Normies have got on board. You know, when they were doing that one conservative versus 25 woke people or whatever, that series before the election, I think that did wonders for the right wing, and I think I basically think we should have something like that here in the UK. If the Lotus Eaters did something like that, that would be great, but no one's going to touch the Lotus Eaters, so it'll have to be GBUs.
They probably could, because there's always a bunch of angry, retarded leftists who would just want to shout into a camera.
The problem is if you get someone like Carl doing it, everyone's just going to bring up the rape story.
True. But like Ben Shapiro, because Ben Shapiro made his name just like talking to retarded college leftists.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Carl was at his best when he was on his UKIP campaign, just going around different towns with a table, inviting people to talk. That was good stuff. I don't know why he's never done that since, really.
Who's the guy from Turning Point USA? Kirk's one. He's pretty good.
Charlie Kirk. Yeah, he's really good. Yeah, I like Charlie Kirk. He's quite funny. He's someone that everyone called like the next Ben Shapiro, and then he got groped and got based. It's quite funny. That is the online right actually having like a successful hit. I will say, I'll give them that one. But they ruin it 90% of the time.
What did BBC Verify say? They said something like how Carl had like formed like a cult in Cornwall or something.
They accused him of going back to Totnes with his thugs.
Yeah, and
also known as Reverend
the story he converted half the town to be his followers or something.
The story this Green councillor came up with was when he went there first, he was there with like a small crew, like recording stuff, and then he was basically chased out of town. Or when he was doing an interview, he was doing one of his talks or something, and people were cheering on whenever people were berating him, basically. And I'm like, I don't know why she's lied about this. This is still up on his channel. Here's the proof that she's just lied, and the BBC couldn't be bothered to check. And yeah, he never went back, but they claim he did go back. I think they tried to claim Milo Yiannopoulos was there, but he wasn't at the Totnes one. He was at a different one. So again, like BBC Verify, who was supposed to, signal out fake news, didn't just openly put out fake news from an interview that they just didn't bother checking, which is really embarrassing. But there you go.
Irony, the unbelievable irony.
Yeah, I know. Well, as I always say, oh god, no, normies have like instantly cottoned onto that BBC Verify is just nonsense. I always love bringing up how the first thing BBC Verify did was create a load of fake accounts for social media.
Yeah.
Which is we're supposed to like filter out the fake news and all that, and they instantly make a load of fake accounts. I think they were doing it to try and see how algorithms worked. It wasn't like it was stupid or anything. It wasn't like disingenuous or anything like that, but it is really funny that like, we're supposed to be really honest and verify everything for you. Anyway, here's our fake accounts. So, why are you making fake accounts? So yeah, we're definitely at a point where the normies are. Again, we've been at a point where the normies have been right wing for quite a while. We've all seen the statistics where every MP is to the left of your average normie.
The normies are us 10 years ago, basically.
Yeah,
the left wing to bash out.
Yeah, the left wing normie is to the right of the Tory party.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it is quite funny because after we did the stream with my brother on Laughing at the Guardian, he was apparently asked in the chat, but it wasn't the super chat, so I missed it, what his most left-wing and right-wing opinion was, but he tried to answer that when we saw him the day after, and he said his most right-wing one was basically that he believes in free markets, and I just laughed at him, because it's like, no, you don't. You think trains should be nationalised. He thinks supermarkets are fine being private, but he believes in like natural monopolies and things, and I just need to make the Malay point of, well, there isn't that. So you can have natural monopolies, quote unquote, but the problem is that they still have kind of a psychic competition of if they start failing, someone else will effectively buy them out. It's like Thames Water; anyone can buy them out and fix all their issues, but no one wants to take on the debt as it is at the moment. So. But he couldn't come up with his most left-wing one, but that's because I think he's got so many. So we'll have to ask him next time, I think.
I was the other day. I was talking with some Germans, and I mentioned this in the Discord, and they said how, there's no left-wing position. No one in America is left-wing, which Are you mad? Like, what is the center ground to you? Like, full Weimar Republic? And then I had to explain. I said, no. Everyone in America is left wing, and I am the true right wing because I want the return of the king.
Yeah.
And this whole democracy stuff clearly hasn't worked. Everyone's miserable, and that just shocked them. This was a position so far beyond what they ever dreamed possible.
Yeah.
How did they not just melt in front of you?
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, they are Germans, of course, so that's they've really had the propaganda driven into them hard since birth. But that was funny. They just didn't know how to respond to that. They thought they couldn't really comprehend it.
Oh yeah.
That must be like encountering a unicorn to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's one of those things that I always want to red pill people on, but I don't. I just feel like it'd be a pointless argument where where they say, oh, they only have right wing parties over in America. There's no left wing alternative. It's like no, the Democrats are probably as left wing as Labour, just not economically sure. But yeah, I just don't buy any of that. I was also going to say I get really confused when proper left wingers complain that they don't have any party to vote for, because I'm always like, you have a choice of like 7. What do you mean? You got the Greens, you got Labour, you've even got the Tories, you got Lib Dems, and SNP if you're in Scotland, Plaid Cymru in Wales, the odd left wing, Northern Independence Party, for example. Whereas what the right wingers have, you've either got crazies like the UKIP or Homeland now, or thank God now we've got Reform.
No, Homeland have cut.
Homeland have cut. They think Kemi Badenoch is British. That is definitely something that I am going to be making fun of now.
What's the party anyway? Where did that go?
What
I forgot.
To the what? To the Cooks?
Yeah, CUK party.
Oh, that was just 7 MPs who, well, none of them won their seats again.
Yeah.
So are they all out of politics now? Is that what we don't hear?
Well, what's Anna Soubry doing? I don't even think Anna Soubry. What she did? Oh, she's a barrister. Yeah, she's just gone back to being a barrister and a journalist.
So none of those MPs are in peril. Went back to the Labour Party with a tail between the legs or anything.
Some of them might have gone back to Labour. I can't remember, but a lot of them just aren't in politics anymore. Yeah, it was the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. But there you go.
But it goes to show how insane it got in the Labour Party. I mean, those Change UK, I won't say Cook. Those Change UK, they were Blairites as well.
Oh yeah, they all were.
How Blairite is the current Labour Party? Would we all say?
Oh, it's the perfect heir to Blair, I'd argue.
Well, it's a lot more woke than Blair was. Well, openly woke, I'd say.
I think Blair would be woke if he got his way.
Yeah, I mean, Blair at least had the intelligence to hide it.
Yeah, he definitely hid his power levels. I don't know if he necessarily would now.
The AA's put the woke away, and that's how you get power. And that's the position Labour perhaps there should have been more Blairite.
Well, that's probably, God knows what the Democrats are doing, but that's probably what the Democrats are going to be doing, trying to work out where they move on from woke.
They seem to be doubling down on woke.
Oh, are they? Oh, well, shows what I know. All right.
Yeah, they seem to just be spiraling into like woke oblivion. They were like with Corbyn, the Labour Party never flew any Union Jacks anywhere. There was always just, and when Starmer took over, that was something he seemed to change. He recognised that, oh no, let's put up some flags so that people stop thinking we hate the country.
Do you remember his first conference? Yeah, he put up all the flags, but he had to give every member the words to "God Save the Queen."
Yeah, and having them sing the national anthem.
Yeah, but
so
having to give the words out is so funny.
Yeah,
it's just so plastic. Voting won't beat them. Beat who? What do you mean voting won't beat them? You see what Trump's doing? Trump got voted in and ended US aid. What do you mean? Also, it happened in Sweden. it's also happening in Denmark. So I can't take people seriously when they're like voting isn't the answer. It's like, well, what's your alternative? Revolution? Go on then, get your rifle. Like, what? You're not just leading a charge down Downing Street, are you?
I wanted to. But
I
then
mean, unless we
ninja
get to
swords.
the point where we're France levels of political intrigue, then no.
I mean, they've also taken our ninja swords away from us.
Yeah, they did. To be fair, I very much appreciate how anti-weeb the Labour Party are at the moment. That is very based, if you ask me.
They're coming from my swords next, though.
I like Joe Rogan's take on that. It's like, you don't even have ninja swords; they're samurai swords.
That's confused me because samurai swords are longer than 50 centimeters have been banned for a few years now, and so I was confused. Like, what are you actually talking about with this? I think it's just all lengths of katana now. Maybe because they also have a separate thing for the zombie knives. I mean, are they? So
the most retarded thing about the zombie knife thing is it was classified as a zombie knife if it had writing on it.
Yeah.
So if you have T-fal on your knives, you.
Jesus. But like, also, are they considering like that Hollywood ninja sword? Does that count now? Is that banned as well? I just don't know with this ninja sword, this new ninja sword ban, what they actually mean.
Well, it's not just it's a lot of ninja weapons. It's quite funny. There's a guy who appeared on my TikTok who said, "Oh, there's some Japanese weapon. It's the like sickle on a chain." He said, "Yeah, that's it." He said, "Oh, I have this sickle. This is technically legal, but if I tie a bit of rope to it, all of a sudden it's illegal."
Yeah, that was in the 80s. The First Offensive Weapons Act seemed to come in when some dumbass civil servants saw some scary ninja films, and it just terrified them that all these basically peasant tools, because they seem really, really great in like the Ninja Myth movie, and no, like shuriken are illegal. I don't think anyone has ever been killed by a shuriken ever. It'll hurt, but I don't think that's going to kill you.
No, sure.
Well, they probably hurt themselves.
Shurikens can definitely kill. Well, enough of them can.
Really?
Well, not...
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, if I
you don't typically just throw one, do you?
I mean, there's been like kids who like have been playing with them and like, oh, what a surprise! They threw one into their head. And someone it's just stuck in the head. It doesn't kill you.
To be fair, Butters did survive that. I'll give you that.
I mean, there's real pictures too.
Yeah,
they just lethal.
What we find out is Batman. Well, Batman would be illegal anyway because he's a vigilante, but Batman would be doubly illegal in this country.
Yeah. Does a batarang count as a shuriken? He'll get his lawyers on that.
It's based on, aren't they?
Yeah, but he'll probably get his Bruce Wayne will get his lawyers on that. Fight the Starmer government.
I don't rate his chances. They'll just change the law like halfway through. Oh, we're losing. Quick, change the law.
Yeah,
it's all right. He still has his shark repellent spray.
What a show, man. I was gonna say as well, actually, there's around that time as well that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was coming out, and obviously the censors said no, can't call it that.
Yeah, it's Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles in this country, isn't it? It
used to be. The original series was, and then when there was like a reboot series when I was younger anyway, it was TMNT, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So there you go.
So I wonder what the elite's aversion to ninjas are in this country. Is they like awake at night going, a ninja's going to take me out tonight. I need to ban them.
I think it's because of the idea that they're assassins.
That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
Like anything that seems cool, they seem to just think is far more deadly than it is. Like the ninjas, the zombie knives. Zombie knives are stupid. They're shoddily made. Then they're less effective than a kitchen knife because you got all this crap on it that isn't going to help you just stab someone.
Oh yeah.
But for some reason, they terrify our government far more.
Yeah, it's just. Well, I mean, even the normies think it's. The normies don't want guns, to be fair. But I think a lot of them realise the idiocy of banning potato peelers and things like that.
I think the normies can be converted on guns.
The only way you do that is by, like a lot of things, solving immigration first.
Yeah,
I'm not sure about the gun thing in this country. I think a lot of the normies are still against guns.
Yeah, they definitely are. Yeah.
You go into the countryside. The countryside is still very pro-gun.
Oh yeah, well, that actually
if you have a
use their
license.
guns for legitimate hunting, and you can still get licenses to cull things in the countryside. And what's the best way to cull a pest?
Well, especially since bow hunting's illegal.
Oh god, everything's illegal in this country. I mean, the thing is, the thing that worries me is where I genuinely have green eyes over at our American cousins is we've imported a lot of interesting folk into the country, and we will not be allowed to defend ourselves.
I've always had the idea of setting up a gun range, and then just inviting MPs, like a shooting day on it. Let them get some experience with it, and they'll love it, and then they'll go, maybe we should have guns again.
No, they just go, oh, guns are cool, but you plebs can't have them. Like they're doing with cars.
Maybe.
They don't have a problem. They don't have a problem with the toffs and everything having all these things. It's the plebs that can't have it all.
It does annoy. One of the things that annoys me is you see so many American commentators just saying guns are illegal in the UK. Well, they're not, but a lot of UK people will hear that and not even bother looking for shooting clubs and stuff because they think they don't exist.
The Americanizations in this country. We ought to do a TOSH talk about the Americanization of this country, because one of the things that annoys me in this country when they argue sort of like this isn't a Christian country, and I have to kind of like, we're definitely a Christian country. We have a Christian head of state, for Christ's sake.
Well, maybe.
Well, officially, we can talk about what it actually is. It's official. Church of England is a state religion. It is supposed to be a Christian country.
We
can argue whether it is or not, but it's supposed to be.
We have 50,000 churches. We have 50,000 churches. Yeah.
It's not America, though. And people seem to think that we have the American principles on everything, because America is separation of church and state. We must be. We're not, and it applies to as far as this UK being a propositional nation, and I hate that as well.
Yeah, the American idea of freedom of religion. That's not up for us, really. That's another new thing sort of imposed on us.
And look what it's done to this country. When our national broadcasters now celebrating Ramadan.
Yeah.
The
the Puritans went to America because we were sick of how boring they were, so we just got rid of them.
Have you been watching Film vs. History too?
Well, that's true though, isn't it?
It's a good episode.
Well, the point is, this isn't America.
No, well,
I don't think the normies have quite got that message. I think they've internalized American politics and put it on us.
Oh yeah.
Well, Harry, your mother has said how we are a nation of immigrants.
I don't think she'd say that now.
No,
I don't know.
But she has said it in the past, and that is a pure American propaganda stuffed on us.
She said that because it's like, oh, there's probably I think there were Huguenots, however you say it, in one joke. Like I have 1.2% French in me. That was probably the Huguenots, and so that's when my mum was like, oh, we're all immigrants if you go back far enough. And I'm like, why even say that? What do you think that means?
The Huguenots were a mistake. Should have deported them.
I thought the Puritans dominated Parliament. Yeah, and then Cromwell died, and then they didn't.
Yeah, they dominated Parliament. Everyone got so sick of them banning Christmas and everything.
People hated Cromwell so much that they dug up his body to hang draw and quarter it, and then his body has just been in bits, and they only his head has been passed around it for centuries. Puritans dominated Parliament, everyone hated it, and then they all went off to America because they were obviously, discriminated.
They were no
against.
longer welcome.
Yeah. Yeah,
we brought back the king and said, "No, we're having fun again."
I have to say, a very annoying thing I keep seeing with Britain's been Americanized is when they pretend that we're always like a socialist country, and this idea of economic freedom is an American import, and it has to constantly be reminded to them that we were the most economically free country in the 19th century. Like for a century, we were
anything like slightly based about America. Is what we created.
British,
it's our tradition.
Yeah. And all the bad stuff's French or Spanish.
Yeah.
It's that simple. But as I said, I think the main thing we've come down on here, because it's wrap up time now, is effectively you've got to not be emotional with the normies. You've got to have your facts and figures at the top of your head, and you've got to, as Mercian says, stay on topic. Don't bring out every base talking point you can, because you'll just overwhelm them, and then give it time, and the normies will come round to a lot of our positions, because a lot of our positions are ahead of the curve, or we're ahead of the curve. As people are trying to look further now, and they're going stupid.
And one more thing, just speak to them like normal people, for goodness.
Yeah, just be normal. Like there's so many. I mean, even Carl's been annoying online righties recently, not just me. Like, even Kenny Smith of Homeland was basically telling him to shut up because he's all over the place. Yeah, it'll be interesting if Carl ever interacts with the normies again, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, I just have some fun with it. If you seem fun, people respond to you more positively.
Yeah. I mean,
the nagging like leftist sort of. You don't want to be a nagging like right wing version of that.
I mean, I've been trying a new tactic where I effectively try and make people feel stupid for stupid positions. Like there's a friend I have who I was asking him. Well, he was basically saying that. I think I've told this story before. He was saying that Suella Braverman's racist. I was like, why? So, she's bringing up Albanian like criminals. I was like, we have a load of Albanian criminals though. He's like, yeah, but why is she singling them out? Like, 'cause we have a lot of them. Like, yeah, but don't we have others? It's like, yeah, but that's a big example, probably the biggest. I basically just got to the point of like, you're effectively trying to shame her for using Albanian criminals as an example when you yourself have conceded that they are a big criminal section of Britain. Like, that's probably why she brought them up. It's like, why didn't she bring up Russians as well? It's like, well, I don't know what she was talking about, so it probably wasn't that relevant. I don't know. But either way, it's a big example of it.
The Russians did steal your Counter-Strike Ghost skins.
Yeah, but they were in Russia. I have their IP address. I should have kept their IP address. I could have scammed them. I could have.
I think they're a bit more capable than you if they manage that to hack into your account like that.
Listen, here's how you get back at them. Right, buy some shares in BAE Systems so they can send more N-laws.
I was thinking
Ukraine.
that. N-laws. I thought they were. I thought Saabs designed them.
What?
Oh well, maybe.
No, these are the rocket things.
No, I know what N-laws are. But yeah, well, either way, yeah.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, I thought they were a Saab thing. I don't know. I'll check Wikipedia. Anyway, I mean, yeah, we didn't really have to go into elite theory too much because I think the current NPC state is kind of ruining elite theory because their propaganda has not worked for the past 14 years. It's worked in some ways, sure, but you know, the woke immigration thing just hasn't worked. Like, elites have ruined it for themselves. So we now have populist movements everywhere. Which why wouldn't you? Anyway,
speaking of that, he's the Marine Le Pen news in France. Just ban her Oh, I can't wait for the rights to kick off again there.
It's kind of amazing how you can just ban Donald Trump and there's absolutely no downsides whatsoever.
Yeah.
And now he's president again. Oh, incredible. Well, anyone have anything else to add about the normies, or we said our part?
No, just that they are on side. They just need to feel like they're safe, and then they're happy.
I will say on that point that typically when they do feel safe, they'll largely go more hyperbolic. When you get into specifics, I think I've said this before, but you say, "What about your Indian doctor?" and they'll be like, "Oh, he can stay," things like that. So
it doesn't need to be all logical. That's that's the stupid German way of running things. It's just whereas the English way is just more muddled through based on vibes, really.
Change it when it starts annoying you. Yeah.
I liked it, and as was mentioned in the Discord about that mayor from Vienna who said, "I decide who's Jewish." That's how we are with foreigners, really. I decide who's foreign.
Well, there you go. Yeah. Well, I mean, even Homeland have said Kemi Badenoch's British after telling me she's not for half a year.
Cuts.
I have just put out a tweet saying Homeland have now taken up the harrying position in reply to Steve Law's tweet about me saying that she's British because she married a Brit. I've just got a picture of Kenny Smith saying, "If you're married to a British family, you're British. You can stay." That is a certified Harry and W. That is what that is. Right. Anyway, I think at that point, I'd like to thank the panel for coming on. So thank you, Tharium.
As always.
Thank you, Mercian.
My pleasure, I'm sure.
And thank you, Enigmatic.
No bother.
Right. There will be TOSH news next week, obviously. The week after, we're not having a poll because Joz is going to be doing a little presentation on the Doge findings and how US aid was effectively ruining the entire planet. So do come along to that. Laughing at the Guardian is this Saturday, Tharium. I do also have Cero and... Who's the other one I got on? Oh, the Polish guy, yeah. Albert. Or It Depends coming on, so should be quite a fun
I'm the only English person again.
You actually are the only English person. Oh no. Hang on, I want to see your DNA first. Is this an entire foreign panel? One drop of French and you're out. Anyway, you've got that Saturday and videos on my channel out as and when I can make them. Which I keep saying that, but they're pretty much every weekday, so I don't think there's any point saying that anymore, but still. What am I going to make it on tomorrow? I can't remember now. Oh, what was the big news this week? I can't remember. I'll remember tomorrow, I'm sure.
Le Pen.
No, I'm not covering Le Pen.
You're not covering Le Pen?
No, I'll save that for Laughing at the Guardian. No, I can't remember what I was going to talk. It wasn't Kemi Badenoch not watching Adolescence, though that is very funny how everyone's reaction is Kemi Badenoch's evil for not watching it. Whereas my position is she's missing out on decent TV.
It's kind of the most base thing she's done.
It is actually the most base thing she's said, to be fair. I don't blame anyone for not watching it. But it is very funny how she was just like, there's more important things to do than watch a TV show. It's like, fair enough.
She could have gone further and gone government propaganda slop. Then I'd be very impressed.
Yeah. Oh, I might touch on Chagos. I don't know how much there is to talk about Chagos. No, it was something else that really annoyed me, and I can't remember what it was, but it happened yesterday, I think.
Awful April. I mean, there's much awful April about how like everything's going to be crippled.
Yeah.
Is there any good news in the world? Seriously.
No.
Not
in this country, anyway.
You want a white pill? The normies are on side, and they are, anecdotally, when me and other people have been canvassing for reform, you get called racist much less than you used to, and you have people effectively saying, thank God there is someone else to vote for. And so, from that, I think reform still have decent momentum. and I think they've got to be enough of a shake-up for the system to make them get serious. I mean, we're already seeing a bit of serious work from some Tories from this, but I still would not trust them to govern properly at this point. They've lost it after 14 years, so yeah, we'll have to see how reform are, and we'll probably see decent results next election. So there you go. Right, anyway, thank you very much, chat. Thank you very much, Sarah, once again for the super chats. And with that, that's everything I had for you for today, or we had for you for today.